Well, hello and welcome to our Q&A. And yesterday we found out that Davy and April are having a boy. We don't know the name yet, but they're having a boy, number 28. 28 will be here October 18th, around in there. You know how that goes. While we were waiting for questions to come in, since the comments were disabled, we were talking about Papa O's bike trip. But now we're going to go back to the questions because we finally got some questions. Anything? Well, we'll wait till next week.
How about the one where I get a traffic ticket?
Well, we'll wait because we're gonna. We got to get to the questions.
Oh yeah, very true.
So then we'll go back to the bike trip. But keep asking questions because I don't know if we're gonna get disabled again.
And bears in Canada.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting story. So we'll put that on hold. Get to the question. Daniel Lefko. He says this was Ender's birthday, and it says Ender is 6 now and has red hair. He says
still got red
hair. And tell me when he got his name from. When Davy was in school, junior high or something, he read the book called Ender's Game, and he says, "Oh, someday I'm going to name one of my boys Ender." He just loved that book. And then when Ender was born, he says, "I have to name one of my kids Ender."
But wasn't there a movie out?
Probably. Oh yeah, Ender's Game. It did come out just before he was born. That's right. I forgot about that. The movie actually came out. And that's when he said, well, I have to name him Ender. So that's where he got it from. And also Daniel says winter. He's from Australia, I think. And he says winter's coming his way and we're just getting spring and summer coming.
Because on the other side of the equator, the southern hemisphere.
And he wants to know what we are doing for summertime. And it's just the basic Cherry Hills.
Well, it's a water park.
And
swimming pool.
Yeah, we started that a few years, I guess
and
20 years ago.
Overnight camping.
Overnight camp one night. We usually only do one night because that's the only night we can catch everybody. Okay, 3 Bart boys plus. And this is when we were talking about Amanda getting her tonsils out. And that she said that it might be worse than getting her tumor out that she got 9-10 years ago. And so somebody was asking, Bart was asking, 3 Bart boys plus was asking, was her tumor cancerous? And luckily it was not. But I asked the doctor, I said, well, does she still have to get this tumor out if it's not cancerous? He says it will still kill her if we do not take it out.
You're talking about the original operation.
Yeah, the tumor 10 years ago. So it wasn't cancerous, but it still would have killed her if we didn't take it out. Okay, and good question. Ancestral Bliss, after your children grew up and moved away, have you and Papa O taken a vacation together? And do you plan on taking one in the future? We don't like to travel. Papa traveled.
Then first of all, tell them how many places you've been.
Well, I don't like to travel. All those, Papa O's been all around the world, and she
exaggerates just a little bit.
24 countries.
Okay, Western Europe and most of, Mexico, other common places. Canada, I was born in Canada.
And I never will like traveling. And I have been places. We went to Canada twice.
Okay, well, wait a minute. She's been to Canada twice. On the west coast where I was born on Vancouver, British Columbia. And later on, after I learned French, I wanted to go back to Quebec, which is north of New York State.
That's where you took your bike trip.
And also where I worked for a whole year in Reynolds Aluminum. And so if you don't count flying to Boston and then getting a rental car, driving up through the beautiful upper New York State and into the beautiful country in Quebec, that was a vacation.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
You cried quite a bit.
I did. I cried leaving the kids. I cried for 2 hours on the airplane. I didn't like it. I was anxious to get home. When I go to Canada, I was nervous. I mean, it's fine going, but I just would rather stay home.
And then I went to Nashville. You drove to Mexico once.
We drove to Mexico. My kids all wanted to go, and I didn't want them to go alone. This is when they were older, and I went with them. I get very nervous. I still went. We went to Mexico on the bus. It was an 18-hour ride. I didn't like it, but I went. And I went with my clogging group once to Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee, and she dances on
Grand Ole Opry
the
stage.
Grand Ole Opry.
I've been to California a couple of times. We went there on our honeymoon. I went with Rochelle.
Idaho many times.
Idaho lots of times. I have a brother and sister
Portland,
there.
Oregon several times.
Yeah, we're planning a trip at the end of May to go there. And I don't know, it's just...
Southern Utah.
Yeah, down to St. George and Lake Powell. I would rather stay home.
No, if you're with your family, you like it.
Once I get there, I'm fine, but I don't like it.
Except in Quebec, Canada. You never did get used to it there.
No, I'm very, very content staying home. People have to talk me into going. Papa, he loves it. He used to crave it. I didn't think he'd ever quit talking about wanting to travel. He wanted to go live in Europe for 3 years. Well, when our kids were little, I said
one time I went to Europe and I wrote down 13 countries I wanted to live in and learn the language in that country. I made it to about the 4th country, and I decided I got tired of being away, and I had more than one. I had, like, for example, Portuguese and Spanish and Italian, French. I had all those languages in my brain. I started mixing up the grammar, and I said, I need to just go home. And like my grandma gave me the advice, Joe, we need you to stay home, finish the university, find a nice Mormon girl, and get married. And
he did. And he still traveled around with his work. His work would send him off to places.
No, at work, I worked for a computer company, network programming for large computers. They kept saying, I kept hearing the word X25 and X21. I said, what is that? What is that? I said, oh, that's what they use in France and Italy and Stockholm. And I thought, those are the exact places I want to go. So after 2 years, I was in those groups.
Got to be sent there.
And I got sent there.
It was in Switzerland or Sweden for
1 month.
1 month. I
was testing a huge computer that
we get you to come home.
That Scandinavian Airlines wanted some software, but I had to test the software.
So they would send him there
on a live system.
As soon as the problem would hit, they would say, "We got your airplane ticket. Go."
Now let's say
he had to keep a passport.
I was in a group where, first of all, before I started designing the software, I tested the software for the designers, and but they needed somebody to fix it. But sometimes we'd send it to the customer, the software, and then they would try it out. But all of a sudden it hit a problem that they could. All of a sudden, saying, "We're losing money. We need somebody here tomorrow to fix the problem."
Yeah, I remember one time you left on Father's Day. He says, "They're sending you on Father's Day," and he goes, "I have to go."
No, one time he said, "Go down, go down to the secretary, get your flight arrangements on Air France, and you need to be there.
Right out.
You need to be there tomorrow morning."
I go, "Oh, okay." He had to go fix that problem because they had to have it fixed because their business.
Well, Air France, that's a huge airline.
Their business is on the line, and they have to have that problem fixed.
And another place in France was where they made wine, and that
had to be fixed.
There was a huge grocery chain where they sold wine in the stores, and all of a sudden they couldn't place their order anymore.
See, their company business is on the line.
And there were just a chain of grocery stores that weren't getting their wine. And
they flew you out pretty quick on that one.
I did a lot of praying, and after the first week, the boss said, "Joe, how's it coming?" He says, "Well, it's not solved yet, but I'm getting very close." He said, "Just come home," because you
didn't want to come home not solving it.
So I seriously got down on my knees and prayed a lot and I worked 16 hours that day. And the following morning, a guy walks in right while I'm talking to the people about the problem. And he says, "Oh, there's that same error message that comes up all the time." I said, "Now what?"
That error.
Said every time it crashes or stops, this error message comes out. I said, you didn't tell me that before.
I need to know.
He says, "Well, I didn't know it was important."
I said, "Yeah, we need to know where the error is."
And it gave me the exact location where the error was happening, and probably within one day I had it fixed.
Because you have to know where the problem is to fix it. And so when that error came up, then he said, "Okay, that's what I need to fix."
And I looked in the code which is maybe hundreds of thousands of lines, maybe this thick. And I did
papers this thick. Yes. He has to read through.
Where each find the line has hundreds of lines in it, or thousands of lines in it. But then I had it fixed, but it had to be tested. We did a quick test, and it seemed to work. And I said, before I go home, we need to be satisfied that what you fixed, or your patch, that fixed it.
It's fixed. The fix is fixed.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, how many days before you're satisfied that it's fixed? I said, they said if it runs for 2 or 3 days. So I said, let's say 3 days. If it runs,
so I'll
go home.
So in the meantime, what'd you do? Just travel?
I had a rented car.
So while you guys are testing this,
and I went on a tour of northern Italy, and that's when I saw things I hadn't seen for about a year or two.
Yeah, because he'd lived there before.
And I kept in contact with him.
Say, how's it going? Is it still working?
And it was still working. And I knew it would because it was the exact problem.
That error. Yeah. So.
And probably about a month later, 2 bosses above my boss, he's probably over, I don't know, thousands of guys, wrote me a special commendation. Please be sure to thank Joe Orgel for solving that problem. Yeah. I don't know if he said so quickly, but he said for solving it.
And Joe worked for Unisys for 20 years, and he was a computer programmer, so that's what his job was.
Actually, they called us engineering software because
that does sound more.
It sounds a little nicer,
cooler than computer.
Some of us were engineers, but all our work was engineering work, meaning the little boys that operate with their fingers on are way below us.
Yes, true.
Like
you don't want
texting and playing games. Okay.
Yeah, the brains of the computer. Okay.
Lattoria
Lene. Evie is so cute. She has grown up so much in the past few months. But when you ask Daisy her name, I LOL'd. Poor grandma. It must have been a long few days. And how is Evie's potty training go? I do that with the grandkids a lot. I'll be talking to them and I'll say, what's your name? What's your name? And it's so cute how they don't roll their eyes or anything. They just state their name. They'll say Daisy or Ender. It's just funny because I go, oh, what's your name?
You said it to Paola.
Yeah, I even do it to Paola now. What's your name? She kind of rolls her eyes a little bit.
But 25 grandchildren.
28.
28, no, 27.
All right, 20. Well, we're counting the
we don't
number
have a
20.
name, though.
Oh, okay. As soon as we get the name, we'll start counting them. Now we know it's a boy. but I'm glad you noticed that I always say, what's your name? Okay, and how's Evie's potty training going?
She gets one little thing of Play-Doh for every time she goes potty.
When I had her for the 4 days, I just put training pull-ups on her. I said, it's too much work, because she kept having accidents. And if she has an accident, she can have it in the pull-ups. And I don't know how it went with Esther and with Grandma Hannah, if they actually got her to go on the potty. And I think Davy and April are home from Greece. I think they're still working on it with her, but I think Evie feels more comfortable with the pull-ups on. It'll be hard for her when she gets pushed out of the nest, or she'll be little mommy and probably put makeup on him and what she does to her. So, Crazy Pandas, can you ask Esther to blog, please? Esther is April's sister, and that would be nice if Esther would vlog, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Blogging is not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
You have to have a camera and know how to use it.
I'll ask Esther, because that would have been nice to be able to see the kids, how they were with Esther.
Another problem, to know how to use YouTube and all the options on it.
And I've been able to ask Davey questions, like I'll say, well, what do I do about this? And Jimmy Joe, my son, the Action Lab guy, I ask him, I'll say, well, what do I do? How about here? They'll give me a few hints and show me how to do things. But it takes a good 3 hours.
But in YouTube, you have to design a whole...
You have to do your thumbnail.
But a whole design for your channel.
And then build your channel up and stuff. So it takes time. Like I've been doing this for 4 years, but I've been doing videos for what, 20, 40 years? You took the first 20 and then you put the camera down, and then I picked it up and started doing the next 20. And then Davey suggested we put them on YouTube, and that was about 4 years ago. I thought, I don't know if people will watch it, and he says they will, they'll watch it. And then I slowly learning how to, you know, make it interesting and add music, and I like putting me and my sister's songs that we've written on there, because there's no patents on those.
And if you put a video up and only 2 people like it, you know that you're not doing something right.
If you go back to my old videos, you'll see I only have a few views on them. But it takes time to build it up, but that's a real good question. Okay, let's do a couple more here. Why don't you read the next one?
Your conversation with
Grateful MC.
Oh, Grateful MC. Your conversation with Evie about Rosie's house was the sweetest. That little girl sure loves her princess dresses.
Yes.
Did you ever figure out who Rosie is?
Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah, a little girl that lived down the road.
Because Evie just assumed I knew where this Rosie was, and she was so excited to go to Rosie's house. That was a fun conversation with Evie. So cute. Okay, why don't you read one more? And it was a neighbor down the street. Okay. April guessed. She says, I think it's that little girl down the street. Okay, why don't you let's do one more.
Okay. On a side note, this is Jamie Chipman for Mama O. I am looking for your Jell-O popcorn balls recipe.
I will post that.
My late sweet grandmother used to make those very treats, and I have longed to make them, but did not ever have the recipe. I saw you share it once, and I wonder if you could get that
and I
from
shared
you.
that with her, and I will post that here. Okay, finish.
Okay, question for me. My hubby is a master plumber in Utah. He landed a job in Rawlins, Wyoming to plumb the YDOT building. He and I traveled out there a few times, and let me tell you, the head and crosswinds in a powerful work truck were felt every inch of our way. How in the world did you handle the head and crosswind of a bike?
When we were talking about Joe's bike ride in there.
Well, going across Wyoming, that was probably Wyoming and Nebraska where the worst winds were, because Nebraska was tornado watch country, and there's actually the middle of the whole summer was tornado watch. But anyway, the crosswinds, winds don't just change directions like it's south now all of a sudden to the north. They will blow the same way for a long time. If it's a canyon,
interesting.
As it heats up, and then the colder air from the canyon comes down. So if you're going up a canyon, there's always a headwind from the cold air dropping down because of the warm air rising. But I think what you're saying by the winds, the worst winds would be on a two-way highway with a drop off into a gravel or dirt, and where a lot of the freeways, of course, they have maybe about a 4 to 5 foot wide emergency lane on either side of the 2-lane. But Interstate 80 had many places on Interstate 80 that was a freeway where there was no 5-foot emergency lane. So I had to ride as close to that little drop off, maybe a 2-inch.
Show them your space.
Oh yeah,
there.
maybe a 2 to 3 inch drop off into just the.
Okay.
Big.
The drop off.
Yeah, and I couldn't stop every time a car came by because otherwise.
So you've got this much space, and then the road just drops off.
No, let's say. All there was a thin yellow line at the very edge to keep an eye on. You know, it would be a white line actually on the edge, and the next line is the middle of the highway. And so, the worst thing would be a big bus or a big semi truck. Now the semi trucks, they have to go fast, and they're usually breaking the speed limit, and they go very fast, and so the ones that passed me were usually between 60 and 70 miles an hour. And of course they see me from a long ways off, and my ears were tuned. I knew when the semi-truck, because immediately they would take their foot off the gas, and I would hear the mufflers making noise because they took their foot off the gas. And, you know, just kind of go, brrr, you know, like that. And I knew there was one behind me. But that's not the problem, because they would cross the center line just to go around me, so
they'd give you room.
So they wouldn't knock me. But occasionally, cars would be coming from the opposite direction, and also maybe a few times a day there will be a big, like a huge bus on one side and a semi on the other, and they cross right when I'm there, and they literally are inches from me, and I'm staring, holding the handlebars, and I'm just staring at that white line so as not to drop off, and that's
not get sucked into
well, it's not the sucking yet. Because as soon as the one would pass me going 60 or 70, there'd be a little vacuum there, because he's bringing a bunch of air with him. But when I'd be right there, there's a slight suction to pull me in. Not a lot, but enough to... So I have to adjust my steering a little bit. And as soon as they pass me, the gust of wind behind him is 60 or 70 miles an hour, which starts to blow me over.
So now you didn't get blown off the road?
No, I knew how to handle it, but I had to be careful in case the truck drivers or bus drivers weren't that careful. Sorry to bore you guys about that.
Yeah, that sucks. Okay, we'll finish some more questions. Oh, okay. We could do one more.
No, but I wanted to say, she said headwind. A headwind is a wind that's against you. In general, the winds, when I'm going east, as summer comes, the winds are coming from the south or southwest. It's usually across in there, depending on the clouds, you know, and the storms and everything. So it's not like... but if you have local storms going on, the wind can change direction. And the only day on my bike trip I only did 13 miles was when I was going up a hill. It was raining hard and the wind was blowing against my face, and I had to pump hard. It was hard pumping just going downhill. I was trying to go downhill.
You're going downhill and you're pumping.
Yes, and that's when I decided I'm going to wait.
Because usually when you go downhill, you just glide. You don't have to even pump. But the wind was blowing so hard.
Yeah, and that was when I said,
13 miles.
I'm going to get off on the next exit and just go to this next little town.
So when you had the wind with you, you did 163 miles. And when you had the wind blowing you downhill.
But it was also blowing rain in my face as well. Yeah.
13 miles.
And I went to the next little town, maybe 50 people living in it, and you can't even see where the houses are, but that's where I got off, and that's another story.
That's it. Well, maybe we'll continue that story. How scared you got in that scary house?
It's a haunted house.
You said it was haunted.
It's one where there's a huge boarded up house, and you need a place to sleep, and it's getting dark.
But we'll tell that
But you kick on the door, and just like in the movies, it goes crack.
So we'll tell you that story.
And opens.
We'll leave it the crack. Okay, we'll close with a couple of quotes, and we'll stay tuned for the crack. Okay. Youth is happy because it has the ability to see beauty. Anyone who keeps the ability to see beauty never grows old. I like that.
How about, have we given Davies, look, let's give the Davy motto and then your motto.
Okay.
Okay, look for the good in everything.
Yeah, and mine is look for the rose.
And it's the same thing of
what's a motto? I don't know. What's a motto with you?
Whatever, Dad.
Okay.
You're the only, you know how you can tell when your joke's not funny? When you're the only one.
That's from Lion King.
Listen, when you're the only
laughed.
When
you laughed.
When you're the only one that's laughing, that
you laughed.
It wasn't
funny. Okay, we'll go. Do you want to say quote or should we just close?
Well, you changed the subject. No, we went to yours.
Yeah, to look for the rose.
Anyway, I'm just saying if you look for bad, you can find it. And also you can pick up a mirror and say, oh, there's somebody that's got a lot of problems.
That's yourself.
I know. my point.
All right, we'll go ahead and close. And thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Remember to ring the bell. You get notified. And we post every day. We've been doing it for 4 years now. And Thursdays are our Q&As. And Fridays are my DIYs. And then the rest is just whatever happens. And welcome new subscribers.
I'm going to add something.
Okay.
When I crossed over into Canada where the Great Lakes meet, I wanted some French fries. Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, and
the 3 lakes. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I went to get some French fries. And the lady says, "French fries?" Says, "We don't have French fries here.
What do they have?
We have American fries, but we don't have French fries."
So we have French fries in America, and in Quebec, where they speak French, they have American fries?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
well, because everything's French fries up there.
Okay.
It seemed cooler to have American fries.
Well, okay, thank you, and that was fun, and we will see you next time. Goodbye. Oh.
And that is like in France. In France,
still talking.
I'm saying, where's the French dressing? I have a salad. Is it French? What? French dressing.
So they don't have French dressing either.
In France, they don't have.
Do they have French bread?
No, they have vinegar and oil, but no French dressing in France.
Okay, now we'll say goodbye.
Okay.
Okay, goodbye.
Good night.